Hello and welcome back to my channel, where today I'm going to be doing a review of the latest film from the Wizarding world, Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore. This film is once again directed by David Yates and is this time co-written by J.K. Rowling and Steve Kloves, who Steve Kloves wrote all but one of the original Harry Potter films, not writing Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. So he's proven in the Wizarding world. We'll see how he does in the Fantastic Beasts land. But this film stars Eddie Redmayne, Jude Law, and joining the cast is Mads Mikkelsen as Gellert Grindelwald, who is threatening the Wizarding world as he continues his plight against the Muggles. Our ragtag group of wizards and a no-mage, because Jacob Kowalski is back, inadvertently, he's back, but thank goodness he is, because he's the only one that's smiling through this whole thing. But they're all back and they're going to try and stop Grindelwald no matter what it takes, even if it exposes the harsh truths that lie inside the secrets of Dumbledore. So as far as where I am at, I think this should tell you that I am a huge Potterhead. I love the original series, the books, the movies, all of it. I even enjoyed The Cursed Child. Seeing it in person definitely does a lot to make that story work. But as for Fantastic Beasts, I thought the first film was charming yet dull, and I thought the second film was confusing yet dull. So I really didn't have the biggest expectations for Fantastic Beasts 3. That being said, they still disappointed me. I just kept asking myself, why do I care? What is happening here that is engaging, that is entertaining, that is interesting, that is worth keeping my attention? And I honestly could not answer that question throughout the entire 2.5-hour runtime. And man, does it feel like 2.5 hours. I mean, 40 minutes in, I was just like, oh, can we just speed it along, please, God? Because nothing happens. And I think that's the biggest problem with this movie. Where I think Rise of Grindelwald, too much was happening. Here, they just took the wrong lesson. They decided to have the movie just do nothing. But the problem with that is that, you know, it's fine if maybe not a lot of things are happening if your characters are really interesting and they're able to play off of each other and the themes are able to be critiqued, because when the movie slows down, you're able to maybe get a glimpse into the lives that are being lived on screen. I think Deathly Hallows Part 1 does that extraordinarily well, where the movie slows down, and in so doing, you really get a sense of Harry, Ron, and Hermione's internal journeys. But here, none of these characters are defined enough to have that sort of arc. So you just feel like the movie is on 0.5 speed, and it's just trudging through this fog of nothing. It's not only devoid of substance, but it's devoid of emotion and any formal center that is uniting all these characters. There's just not any joy left. And even Jacob Kowalski's routine of he's the no-mage, he's the muggle who is enchanted by the Wizarding world, it's just gotten a little tiring. I think the whole movie feels tired, and I think nowhere is that scene more prevalent than the directing. David Yates has done 7 Harry Potter movies now, and it shows. They don't feel magical anymore, and I think that comes from the top down, and the fact that he doesn't have any magic left in him, and he kind of is just sleepwalking through this thing. He's just hitting record on the camera, and he doesn't really care where it's placed. He doesn't do anything interesting with it. There's no movement to the camera. It just feels very stale. And when you have direction that's very stale, you have Steve Kloves, who definitely doesn't feel like he has any ownership over what he's writing. It definitely feels that he's just trying to cross the T's and dot the I's of another writer's work that he doesn't really feel that motivated to try and fix, even though you know he can, because he's proven to be a very good writer. He's just there to just deliver the studio what they want. And there's a whole aura of corporate mandated filmmaking that's happening here. Contractually, we have to release this movie, and that's the only reason it exists. And I think the biggest problem with these movies that definitely cascades in this installment is that they just keep resetting, and they can't commit to what story they want to tell. They can't commit if they want to do Fantastic Beasts and where to find them and have it be this quirky, fun adventure movie with magical beasts, or the Wizard Hate Crime prequel. And they are so incongruous and they so do not complement each other. And then one of the worst parts about all of this is that the main emotional center to one of these stories, which is the relationship between Dumbledore and Grindelwald, Warner Brothers is just so afraid of doing that and actually committing to telling that story of this gay relationship that the center of the story is so hollow and what's surrounding it is so shallow that there isn't anything here. This is a story that has so many details and so many characters. So the fact that you're asked to spend so much time trying to figure out how this connects to that and this plot point influences that plot point, but none of it matters, it's kind of like they're trying to distract you with as many lights and bells and whistles as they can. I mean, it's kind of like a sign in a window that has like, everything must go sale, blah, 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 blah. And then when you go into the store, there's nothing there. It's like the sign is advertising a lot more than what's actually inside the store. And this script has so many moving parts that you think must coalesce in some form, and it just doesn't. There's a randomness to the whole thing, and I think you see that also in the cast's performance. I think Alison Sudol's Queenie gets some nice moments, especially at the end when she's allowed to be a character. And I think Jude Law does some nice work here, as does Mads Mikkelsen, stepping into a very hard scenario with all the background, backstage ridiculousness. But I think he does a nice job. And there is one moment of poignancy at the end where Jude Law's watching everybody have a good time. And you kind of get a sense of who Dumbledore is, and he's somebody who's been on the outside watching and looking out for all his students and all the people that he cares about, but he'll always be lonely. And I think it adds layers to why he cares so much for Harry in The Half-Blood Prince and throughout this series. So again, that one moment of poignancy. I think the last scene has lightness, it has mirth, it has some joy that the rest of the movie severely lacks. I mean, this movie is so depressing, and every time I thought it couldn't get more depressing, it challenged me there, because it got even more sad and more dark. I mean, the cinematography is dark, everything about this movie is dark, and I'm like, it's wizards, it's magic. Why is this movie so dour? You can see all of the issues and all of the news headlines that get thrusted onto the movie. And the problem with that is it sucks out all of the life in the room, in the theater that you're watching it, on the set while they were making it. And the problem with that is that the original Harry Potter films, the original 8, are some of the most joyful movies ever put to film. I mean, just any time there was a magical thing and Daniel Radcliffe looked up in awe, or any of the characters, like, there was such purity to those movies. And even today, I mean, the original movie is 20 years old now, older. There's still that childhood love and attention to detail, and you just don't have it here. And I don't know if the case is because they decided to make it more adult, they decided to make it for the fans who are already grown up rather than trying to gain new fans and make it more all ages friendly, because the wizard hate crimes, you're not gonna get children to be invested in that. Maybe they think the Fantastic Beasts and what's there is gonna work, but as I said in my Sonic 2 review, trying to appease different audiences at different times in a story is not going to work. The only way to get a vast audience to actually be engaged with your text is to engage them the entire time. You can't be like, all right, this 20-minute sequence with Newt and the scorpion creatures are going to have the kids engaged, and now we're going to do this scene where Gellert Grindelwald in Berlin, Germany, trying to take control in a wizarding election that is determined by an animal sniffing him, and if the animal bows in front of him, then he gets to be Hitler.
Spectacular.
One of my local movie theaters was screening all 8 original Potter films in anticipation for this one, and I went to go see a couple. I saw Prisoner of Azkaban and the last 2 Deathly Hallows, and it definitely does this movie a disservice to watch those 2 movies before this, because you're just reminded of what these movies could be. But especially while watching Deathly Hallows, when we all got to the end of that story, be it on the page or on screen, when that castle starts crumbling down and the Quidditch pitch is on fire, you cared. And I think that's what's the most troubling, is that this movie is actively disinteresting and almost wants to not care about what's happening on screen. it just feels that nobody wants to actually be there. And I honestly think that Warner Brothers should just take a break. Give Harry Potter a rest. And the solution, by the way, if this movie, the box office comes down and let's say they cancel Fantastic Beasts 4 and 5, the solution is not to immediately greenlight Harry Potter 9. We have to earn the return of Dan, Rupert, and Emma. We should not be getting Harry Potter 9 anytime before 2030. We have to wait at least 19 years after Deathly Hallows Part 2. Just do not. I don't want to hear 2025 Harry Potter 9 coming out because this movie didn't work. We should not be gifting ourselves that present because this movie is bad. We should instead realize what's wrong with this movie and then just make sure we don't repeat the mistakes, but not rush into the other thing. Because we're already limping as it is with this movie, and I do think that we're trudging along worse and worse at a lesser speed with each installment of the Fantastic Beasts franchise, and I don't think the solution to this is to wave a little magic trick and to try and get us to limp faster and faster, because eventually we're just going to fall down and this franchise will not get up anytime soon. So that's my review of Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore. To all you Potterheads out there, I know this is a dark day, but we will rise once again, hopefully. And hey, listen, if you enjoyed the movie, I'm very happy for you. I wish I could enjoy the movie too, but please let me know down in the comments what you thought of the film, and make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to not miss any new videos from Spoilers Ahead with Anthony Post. Thank you all so much, and I'll see you at the movies.